Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today we're diving into the ancient path to emotional mastery. If you're ready to learn and kind of fed up with your own reactions, you are in exactly the right place. We're tackling a highly relatable, honestly incredibly frustrating modern dilemma. You know the exact feeling we're talking about, right? You're having a perfectly normal day and suddenly, boom, something triggers you. Maybe it's a passive-aggressive email, a passing comment from a friend, or just this sudden, heavy wave of anxiety. Intellectually, you know exactly how you should react. You know for a fact that getting furious isn't going to help, and you know spiraling into sadness is totally unproductive. And yet, despite all of your solid logic, the emotion just completely hijacks you. Why on earth does that happen?
Listen to this. A young man named Kotatsu recently wrote in to a Japanese monk, Osho Taigu, seeking some advice. He laid out this really profound struggle, and he wrote, "My thoughts and emotions are always opposites. If emotions are stronger than thoughts, maybe words can't change me anymore." You can really hear the defeat there. Kotatsu tried literally everything. He tried accepting himself, telling himself it's perfectly okay to be sad or angry or jealous. But at the end of the day, the feelings just completely overpowered his logic, leaving him feeling utterly defeated.
Okay, let's dive into this. This dynamic creates what we can call Kotatsu's paradox. It's like a giant tug of war. On one side, we have our intellect, our logic, our rational understanding that acting out in anger is, frankly, completely unhelpful. But then, over on the other side, we have our raw emotions, the overwhelming sadness, sudden rage, deep jealousy. The gap between these two sides is absolutely massive, and it is incredibly frustrating. I mean, we can logically understand that our jealousy is completely misplaced, yet the feeling itself simply refuses to vanish.
All right, Section 1, the intellect versus emotion trap. To really understand this trap, we kind of have to look at the confusing landscape of modern self-help that we're all navigating every single day. We live in this unbelievable era where we have unlimited instant access to the greatest philosophies and psychology tutorials the world has ever known. You can literally just pull up a free video on your phone that explains exactly how to reframe your anger. Because of this, our intellectual understanding of emotions is incredibly high. We effortlessly absorb all these brilliant ideas. But here is the trap. When the heat of the moment actually arrives, we experience repeated spectacular failure. We just remain completely at the mercy of our feelings, no matter how many tutorials we've watched.
Moving on to Section 2, the Ancient Master's Quest.
Now, you might be wondering, is this just some weird glitch of the internet age? Are we just uniquely broken right now? Actually, no, not at all. It turns out nearly 2,600 years ago in northern India, a man recognized this exact same human suffering. These completely uncontrollable waves of sorrow, anger, and envy. We know him today as the Buddha. But for our purposes, think of him not as a religious deity, but as an ancient researcher. At age 29, he left behind a life of absolute royal luxury, specifically to solve this one problem of human emotional suffering. He dedicated 6 grueling, unbroken years of his life to it. And at age 35, he cracked the code. He broke through that psychological conflict and established a reproducible framework that has survived for over 2.5 millennia.
Which brings us to Section 3, the quick fix illusion.
So if this methodology has been around for 2,600 years, why on earth are we still struggling just like Kotatsu? Well, it's because of a massive trap we all fall into when we try to improve ourselves. Think about a physical skill for a second like golf or boxing. If you watch a 5-minute video on the perfect golf swing, do you honestly expect to step onto a course and play like a pro? Of course not. We logically know it requires years of physical practice. Yet when it comes to mental skills like anger control, we watch a 5-minute tutorial and we actually expect instant results. We expect to be completely cured of our sorrow just because we heard a really good idea. So, the crucial point here is that knowing how to do something is completely different from actually being able to do it. The absolute convenience of modern information creates this dangerous illusion that mental mastery should be fast, effortless, and just instantaneous. We want a 3-day life hack to fix an emotional reactivity problem that is deeply, deeply embedded in our biology.
Let's get into Section 4, Sikka, the art of training.
To finally overcome Kotatsu's paradox, we have to completely abandon the life hacks. We need a totally different approach, one grounded in a concept that bridges ancient philosophy and modern discipline. The answer lies in an ancient Pali word found in early Buddhist texts, and that word is sikha. It means to learn, to train, or to discipline through relentless, repetitive practice. The solution to your emotional volatility isn't just listening to good advice. It's not just nodding along to a philosophy.
It is committing to a lifelong disciplined training regimen for your mind, exactly in the same way an athlete commits to their body.
We can actually look at this through a traditional martial arts hierarchy, Shin, Gi, Tai, which translates to mind, technique, and body. And these are actually ordered from easiest to hardest. Step 1 is the body, or Tai. This is the easiest to train because, well, you can see it. You lift weights, you get visibly stronger. Step 2 is technique, or Gi. This is definitely harder. It requires repetitive, highly focused practice to learn a specific skill, like throwing a punch. But step 3, the mind, or Shin, is the absolute hardest human endeavor to master. Why? Because it is completely invisible. It's formless. Training it requires a level of internal observation that most people simply never practice in their entire lives.
Osho Taigu, who has taught karate for over 20 years, perfectly encapsulates this reality. When students ask him how to become a black belt, his advice is beautifully, ruthlessly simple. If you want to get a black belt, the only answer is do not quit until you get a black belt. And that exact same rule applies to your mind. If you want to overcome your deep-seated sadness or your explosive anger, the only answer is to not quit training until the sadness or anger has been mastered. There are absolutely no shortcuts here.
And finally, Section 5. Mastering your own mind.
Now, what's really interesting about this process is how we actually apply it in our daily lives. Here is your training protocol. First, you have to acknowledge the emotion instantly. The literal moment you feel it, say to yourself, anger has arisen. Second, you must catch the feeling while it is just a tiny spark. Third, prevent the emotion from growing. If you let the anger explode, the impact is so massive that it literally carves deep grooves into the neural pathways of your brain, which makes you even more prone to anger the next time. You have to catch it early to stop that groove from deepening. And finally, repeat this observation relentlessly. You will fail. You'll get hijacked again, but you just keep repeating the observation.
When you step back and look at it clearly, there is a tragic irony to how we live our modern lives. We spend decades of time, energy, and thousands upon thousands of dollars studying just to make a living. We go to school, we stress over exams, we relentlessly train for our careers. We basically dedicate our entire youth to surviving in the economy. But we spend almost zero time or energy learning how to master our own minds. Because of this, our emotional minds remain completely immature and unpracticed, leaving us wide open and vulnerable to every passing wave of stress or sorrow.
So we spend years training for our careers. How much time will you spend training your own mind? It is literally the one thing you will carry with you until the day you die. You can't just hack it, and you can't just read a motivational quote and expect to be completely fixed. It is a lifelong, deeply rewarding discipline. So it's time to abandon the quick fixes, step onto the training mat of your own mind, and start practicing. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.